Hi everybody, hope you're doing well. So this is an update to my SSD troubles that I complained about recently and the poor technical support that's available for this issue. So let me update you. So I have a workstation that has an error message when it gets near the end of creating a backup image for the machine. It never did it when it was deployed last October because I backed it up on a regular schedule. It started doing it recently, so I went back to the client this week and tried to do it again after finding some system file checker errors that I needed to correct, and it's still the same. So anyway, I installed the Samsung Magician, and the results were not pleasing. Let me tell you what happened. So I ran the first test. We had one red dot, so we had one LBA that was flagged as not being good. This software claims to identify and correct these errors, but and it took about 2 hours to go over the 1 terabyte drive, and it found one red dot. And then at the end, I clicked repair or whatever the button is, and it failed. And then it said, well, run the software again. So I ran it again. Then I got 2 red dots, not next to each other, a little further down on the very first row. I don't know if it means where it is on the actual set of chips, but the very first row of boxes, I'll call them LBA boxes, about 6 or 8 apart. So a second attempt completed again after 2 hours, waiting 2 hours. The repair failed again, so I abandoned that. So I thought, okay, what am I going to do next? I've decided to replace the drive and bring it into the lab and work on it without the OS running on it. Because that's the funny thing I find about Windows tools cannot do disk checks for read-write errors unless the drive is under their control. So you have to do it without Windows being loaded. But the Samsung software doesn't seem to care. So I'm not sure how effective it is at finding them. But anyway, I wish there was some way to find out how they're dealing with that. Because why can't check disk do it while Windows is operating? But Samsung Magician, maybe that's why it's a Magician. I don't know. Anyway, so I thought, okay, I searched the internet again for more help. What I did find is people complaining that there's a batch of Samsung drives that are becoming problematic, and I think I know what they're talking about. So anyway, I figured, you know what, before I replace that drive, because I have a unit in stock, another 1 terabyte, same model, same everything, I figured I'm gonna test it prior to installing it and make sure it's good. Okay, so I set up a machine with with 2 of them in it, one to run the operating system and one to test, so that there will be no encumbrance because of the operating system running. So the secondary drive is the one I was going to do. So anyway, so I started the test. The first thing I noticed is it's very slow. It takes more than 24 hours according to the timer on it to complete the test, and I don't know why that is. I did a full scan first, and I thought, wow, why is it because it's empty? Does it have to write something where it would just be reading first, or I don't know. But for some reason, the brand new drive takes way longer than a used drive. Don't know why. So anyway, so I left it overnight, and I came back the next morning, and the Samsung software was no longer open doing its task. So I checked, and I looked in the event logs. I couldn't see any application crashing or anything like that. So I don't know what happened. It's just closed, I guess. And this is on a brand new Windows 11 build, by the way. So I opened it again, and immediately says the Samsung Magician has suffered an error. Click OK to restart, and so I restarted it, and it's running again, and who knows what's gonna be like. Now, in between all that, before restarting again, I did some others. I did the quick scan test, which identifies all the LBAs in blue first, and then, or in gray first, and then in blue or red, depending on whether they're good or bad. And the short test, I had a couple of LBAs that stayed gray, never turned blue. And the test finishes very quickly, only in like 10 minutes or less, if I recall correctly. Very quick test. So I don't know how reliable that test is. So um, again, I have to complain that the support is non-existent. I guess I'm going to have to trial and error, gain all the expertise, become an expert on these drives, because I suspect now that they've been deployed for a couple of years, we're going to start seeing failures. And it's not going to be like spinning disk failures. It's going to be hard to predict, and data is going to be lost. My contemplation right now is to start making images of every machine on a regular basis, and anyone that fails, then you get advance warning something's going wrong before disaster strikes. Yeah, it's going to take up a lot of disks and space and time, but I think it has to be done. Anyway, so once the drive is finished and it's deemed to be good and a brand new drive, I will deploy it, re-image the machine, bring the old one back to the shop, and I'll update you at that time. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care.